Hi everyone, welcome back to Keeping Up with the Chaldeans. This is our first episode back since the lockdown. We're here with Gabi Grossbard. Emphasis on the Gabi, so you can remember the name when you get to the ballot box. You're running for the 9th Congressional District of Congress. You want to just say hello to our viewers, introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about yourself, and we'll get the interview rolling.
Hi everybody, my name is Gabi. I want to thank the host, AT, for having me on, and the crew, Mark and Jordan, for putting together an awesome show. I am running in Michigan's 9th Congressional District.
Mm-hmm.
Congressional District, a third of it's in Oakland County, 2/3 of it's are in Macomb County.
Oh, wow.
Anything above north of 8 Mile all the way to the river, up into Clinton Township, major part of Sterling Heights, Warren, and then coming into Oakland County, Huntington Woods, and all the way up and around. I think we're actually in the district right here.
Okay.
It's Telegraph and even west of Telegraph, and then Bloomfield Township, Beverly Hills, in that area. It's a big district. There's about 750,000 residents as of the last census, and there's a lot of diversity. The Oakland County side is an entirely different personality from the Macomb County side.
Sure.
I fit very well with the Macomb County side, actually, even though I live here in Oakland County. It's because that I'm a blue-collar guy. My background, I grew up in blue-collar. I'm always a worker. I had an auto repair shop. I worked with cars. I sold cars. Macomb County has a very large blue-collar demographic, and the campaign slogan is "From the working class, for the working class."
Gotcha. And what got you interested in getting into politics?
The current political climate is very rough.
Yeah.
We essentially have two parties that seem to be running in separate directions, and most voters are stranded in the middle without representation. It's very polarizing. I'm new to politics, but I came to realize that the only way to bring normalcy and stabilize the political governance in this country is for representation to go back to the way it was meant to be, which is regular people taking time from their regular life, running for political office, getting elected, representing their constituents, not their own ideology, and then going back to regular life. We're in where we are right now is because people are so entrenched in their positions and they're fighting for what they're interested in, and they can't get along and they can't work things out. And the losers in that equation is the American people.
Yes, absolutely. And we're seeing a lot of that across the country and throughout. I hope you do get elected and you can make that change. And so you're running as a Democrat?
I'm running as a Republican.
As a Republican, okay.
Yes.
All right, good. And you're a conservative gentleman?
Conservative views.
Man of faith?
Yes, man of faith.
You want to speak a little bit about your faith and why your values, bringing your values to Congress would be a big plus and a positive to the people?
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Israel. I'm Jewish, of Jewish descent, and I'm a practicing observant Jew. My view of religion governs my life. In other words, I don't sit there and I expect people to live their life based on my religion and what I think is right and wrong.
Right.
Nevertheless, I do have morals and I am a principled individual, and those are the types of things that should influence the way I govern. But ultimately, I'm looking to represent the constituents of the 9th District, not my religion, and definitely not my own views and ideology.
Right. And then so what will you bring, or what types of changes or things will you fight to bring to and help support the people?
So the way representation turned out to be, like the way it evolved into, the entire country right now is being run by a representative out of San Francisco. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
She's one out of 435 who happens to be the Speaker of the House. Did you know that you don't even have to be a member of Congress technically to be a Speaker of the House? They could vote for anyone to be their Speaker. But, not that it's been done, but that's a technicality.
Okay.
But we wind up where we have one representative who's voted by one district running the entire country. That's not how it was meant to be. The congressional representative is the closest representation the citizen has in the federal government. Michigan
Absolutely.
right now has 14 representatives. It's cut down into district. Unlike the Senate, where each state gets 2 to look out for the interest of the state, the representatives are there to represent their constituents.
Mm-hmm.
I intend to represent the interests of the constituents. And you know what? Congress people wind up getting too involved with the national and international things. I intend to focus on local issues,
Wow.
like growing the local economy, like local education, various local issues that are important to us.
So by making so much sense, how do you expect to get elected? And obviously I'm being comical, but
Yes, no, that's an excellent question. I definitely have a tough battle ahead.
Yeah.
I'm going in the general election. I'm going up against Representative Andy Levin.
okay.
This is his first term, but he won the seat that was occupied before him by his father for 30 years.
Yeah.
Name recognition
Name
is a big
recognition,
thing.
yep.
It's a big advantage on one hand. It's a disadvantage on another hand. When the people are unhappy, the first thing they point the finger and are unhappy with are the norms of how it used to be. When people voted for the current congressman 2 years ago for his first term, they really thought they were getting his father 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
His father was a liberal, his father leaned to the left, but his father cared for the people and was reasonable. Not everyone saw eye to eye with him or not.
Right.
This congressman turned out to be an extreme radical leftist, and I'm hoping that he's actually vulnerable this time around. So if I get the Republican vote, and if I manage to get the independent and the moderate Democrat vote, I have a chance.
So Levin seemed to jump on the tidal wave of bandwagon to support his party and his party only. He jumped on the impeachment wagon, slammed the current president, was not representative of himself in my opinion, from what I saw, and I've had some interactions with him, and I feel like someone with your morals and interest in for the people will bring a positive change.
Yeah, I've never spoken with him, although we do have some friends in common.
Mm-hmm.
He, the items that you listed happen to be the moderate side of his agenda.
Yeah.
In the House, all the Democrats jumped on the impeachment with the exception of 1 or 2.
Yep.
And various other issues. To me, where he allows his ideology to guide him stronger than representing his constituents are with the working class, for example. So Andy Levin voted against the USMCA, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, an agreement that replaced NAFTA and is projected to create a lot of local jobs in his district and bring a lot of business and a lot of manufacturing. And he voted against it very proudly. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't green enough for him. So we're talking about a guy who his green ideology is more important than you earning a living or your kids being able to get a local job and not have to move to a different state to find an opportunity.
Right.
It's one example. Another example that I could bring out is just a few weeks ago, right? We're coming out of a pandemic. Some states are going back into a lockdown. How you feel about the lockdown and the response to the pandemic is not what I want to bring out. But what I do want to bring out, economically, there's a lot of suffering here in his district. Businesses having to close down, people going bankrupt, marriages being on the rocks. There's a lot of emotional, mental issues. And what is he busy doing? He is sponsoring legislation. That means he's writing it, that the United States of America should take taxpayer money and send it to North Korea to help those people over there. You know what? The 9th district voted you in, not the people of North Korea.
Right.
Represent us.
Yeah, that's huge. That's too bad, but I hopefully it'll change. So who else are you running against, or is it just?
In the general, it's Andy Levin. I do have a primary challenger.
Okay.
The primary challenger, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about him. Feel free to look him up if you like.
Yep.
He's also new to politics.
Okay.
In my opinion, he does not have a shot at winning the general. I think that I do.
Okay.
But I do need, and what I've been focusing on is not attacking my primary challenger. I'm focusing on turning up the vote in the primary. The reason for that is I've spoken to state Republican Party, to the National Republican Party. I need to convince them that there is an opportunity in the 9th District. You know, Macomb County is a pivot county. It's very important for the Trump re-election campaign. They're going to be pouring money into Macomb one way or another. It'll be nice if I was part of those plans. And if they think that there's an opportunity and they're convinced that Andy Levin is vulnerable, they will come on board. So one of the things that I hope to show them is that I could turn out the vote and get a nice primary turnout election. And that's what I'm focused on.
Got you. And then, so as our viewers are, you know, we have a lot of Chaldean viewers, and being that the show's keeping up with the Chaldeans, what can the Chaldean people do to help you, and how are you helping the Chaldean people as their representative if you are to be elected?
The Chaldean people and the Jewish people go way back. We have a lot in common. We're very close.
Absolutely.
History-wise and value-wise, family value-wise, pro-life-wise, economy-wise. We're entrepreneurs. We're people who don't want to sit at home and collect a check. We want to go out and work and earn it. If I didn't earn it, I don't want it.
Yep.
That's a very common ideology. We raise our kids with family values and with history, with religion. A lot of that is in common. That is a stark contrast from the representation that we have right now. And I encourage every person who's Chaldean, who lives in this district, even if you're not Chaldean, if you live in this district, come out and vote for me, especially in this primary, and then turn out in the general election and vote. Your voice is very important right now. And if we don't want to start battling all this left-wing agenda stuff in our regular life, we have to come out and vote.
Okay. And so, with the relationships of the Chaldeans and the Jewish people here, our paths are kind of running parallel, which is a good, comforting thing that we have. You know, a advocate and family values together. What are some of the things that are going on back home that kind of talk a little bit about the Chaldeans, the Syrians, and the Israelis, if you can.
Right. So I was born and raised in Israel. Israel drafts and everyone serves into the army. When I was a kid and I was asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" my answer was, "I want to be a soldier." We looked up to our soldiers. I knew as a kid growing up that there's someone putting their life on the line to keep me safe, and then it will be my turn to return the favor, to put my life on the line so they could raise their kids. It's how the system is over there.
Yeah.
Israel has been at war essentially since its creation. But Israel has always looked for peace, contrary to the reputation that we have. People talk about a two-state solution. Now in Congress, there's some left-wing anti-Israel voices that are calling for a one-state solution, which essentially means the end of Israel. But Israel has offered the Palestinian a state 5 times. And every one of these times, the Palestinians said no. They walked away. One of the biggest chances that they had was in 2000 on Camp David with President Clinton, Prime Minister Rabin, and Yasser Arafat as the Palestinian chairman. And in Bill Clinton's words, Yasser Arafat was here for 14 days and he said no to everything. They were offered everything and they chose not to. That causes major friction, and Israel has only asked for 2 things the entire time. Israel's willing to give up land. They have proven that. They're willing to give up money. They're willing to give up or release terrorists. They have 2 requests. Please recognize our right to exist as an independent sovereign country, and stop killing us. Yeah. You would think that they could say yes to one of these, and the answer is always no. But that creates, with Israel's neighbors, with Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq behind it. With Egypt, we have a peace plan that's been holding since 79-80, which is great. But there are a lot of refugees, and there are a lot of, from both sides. On the Arab side, the Chaldeans are persecuted. The Jews are persecuted everywhere. There used to be, before 1948, before Israel came about, there were close to 1 million Jewish people living in Arab nations. Now it's down to under 1,000. They either
So
were
run off.
expelled
Yeah.
or they were killed.
Right. Wow.
But Israel on their border with Syria, they bring people in for medical care. You know,
Yeah.
there are people who are injured, people who need specific, even from the West Bank, from Gaza, who's, as they're throwing bombs at us, they bring their kids or they're sick to the border, and we take them to the hospital and we give them care because we're pro-life and we're
pro-life,
humanitarian and
yeah.
we're sympathetic.
Yeah. So you talked about your military time. What do you make of this defunding the police drive?
Yeah, that's a great question. I just want to finish up one last thing
Oh, sure,
with that.
sure.
The reason it's important that the United States support Israel is not just because, hey, they're a country that would get overrun otherwise. I'm a staunch believer, and history proves it, that
Mm-hmm.
a strong, independent Israel is in the interest of America. So even if you don't care about foreign policy, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's in our best interest. A lot of the wars, 9/11 didn't start here.
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor didn't start here. All these attacks on the states didn't start here. Having strong allies in the world keeps a lot of these attacks off of our shores right here, which is why it's in our best interest as Americans. And I'm running for Congress to represent America, not to represent Israel, but
Right.
it's in our best interest, and that's why I'm focused on that. Defunding the police is I'll tell you this about it. The left is usually much better at naming their movements.
Yeah.
Like they're brilliant with naming their
Yeah, we need
their
their
agenda.
marketing. We need their marketing.
Defunding the
people.
police is a lousy name.
Yeah.
It's tough to get behind something like that. Does the police? I'll be the first to tell you that government.
Well, so which would you prefer?
Yeah.
Defunding the police or abolishing the police? Like, who had a better name? Do you think?
Abolish ICE. Well, that obviously didn't work. They went to defunding the police.
Right.
Yeah. There's no question that there's excess spending in the police departments, just like every
Sure.
government
Sure.
department. The government's lousy at running budgets. They overspend on everything. There's no question that you could go into the police department and get the same results for less money. But that's not what we're trying to accomplish here.
Right.
And I would lump police in together with all other government departments, education and defense. All of that could use better budgeting. No
Sure.
question, that's important. But to simply say to people, yesterday there was an interview with the Attorney General of Minnesota, and he's trying to convince the people he's interviewing with that if you are a woman who's a victim of sexual assault, wouldn't you rather talk to someone who is trained to help you deal with it rather than a police officer?
Mm-hmm.
So collecting DNA, tracking down the person so he's not out there as a menace to society, falls by the wayside. I have no doubt that the police could use reform with their policing. They shouldn't be able to beat up anyone they want. Most of them don't.
Right.
But don't just blanketly say, okay, let's get rid of the police, because the people advocating for this are liberals from the suburbs and criminals.
Yeah,
We shouldn't be taking advice from either group.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know. It's strange, and of course the police are us. We're police born. Where do police come from? They come from us, from our people, from the people. So to hate on the police is doing yourself an injustice, in my opinion.
Right. And to clarify what's going on, the police are getting the blame.
Mm-hmm.
The blame should go to city councils and mayors.
Yeah.
Police are a local authority.
Yeah.
What they do is in these cities that are democratically run, and the police department and the city council write a book of laws, and they hand it to a cop, and they say, go ahead out in the street and enforce these laws.
Yep.
The cop doesn't he doesn't write the laws. He doesn't decide what to enforce.
Yep.
So you give a cop stupid laws to enforce, like in New York with the unfortunate case of Eric Garner. They wrote a law that says you're not allowed to sell cigarettes individually in the street.
Yeah.
Why? To appease the cigarette lobbies, whatever.
Yeah.
That's their law. They're telling the cops, this is a priority, go out there and enforce it. So they go out there and enforce it. That altercation goes bad. The Eric Garner unfortunately winds up dying from it.
Yeah.
That altercation should have never happened in the first place. We need to reduce the amount of times police are interacting with
Individuals.
citizens.
With citizens, yeah.
Including with face masks. You have it, you don't have it, but to tell police to go ahead and enforce it, imagine a police officer walks up to someone to enforce a mask law.
Right.
It's not a law, but nevertheless. And that escalates and goes bad and someone winds up getting killed. Now we're going to say, oh, well, we're killing people for masks. No. Unfortunate situations happen because that the city council and the mayor are enforcing silly laws. We need to deregulate.
So, with all of 2020, and granted there was a pandemic in the middle of it, what has Congress accomplished in with what you've seen, and then what would you like them to have accomplished during this time?
Well, they managed to almost impeach a duly elected president for no good reason. To those on the impeachment train who were all for it and disappointed it didn't go through, I say to them, you know what? I was very disappointed to see the two charges that they charged the president with. I was expecting to see treason and all sorts of abuse of power. And the two charges that they threw at him were essentially jaywalking.
Yeah.
And one that was completely made up. It's not, and they wasted our time and money. And had they in Congress investigated the beginning of this COVID-19, which was starting in December and January, they were all busy trying to get in more witnesses and drag this out longer instead of holding hearings.
And is that part of their duty?
Yes, having these types of hearings, yeah.
Okay.
There's a state and local response. Like the state is responsible for hospital beds, for ventilators, for PPE. They regulate how many doctors are allowed to work in the state. The state regulates that.
Oh, wow.
Then they turn around and yell at the federal government, hey, we don't have enough beds, we don't have enough this, it's your fault. It's not their fault. So,
right.
But the federal government does have a role and they should hear it. Another thing here, if we're talking about a short 2020, because it wasn't that long ago, and this is a topic that really eats me up. On February 25th, 2020, not even 5 months ago, the Senate brought up a bill called the Born Alive Survivor Bill. If a baby survives abortion, and he's alive, out of the womb, in your hands, alive, it was a short bill, so it didn't include any other thing. It just said you must provide it with medical care like you would any other baby. It didn't pass. It didn't pass. If we're at a point where we can't, and it's not a federal crime to not provide medical care to a baby,
Right.
out of the, it's nothing to do with the mother's body, nothing to do with right to choose. Baby is born alive. And it didn't matter. 44 senators voted against it. That should scare everybody, whether you're pro-life or you're pro-choice. None of that should translate into letting a baby lay there and die after it's born.
Wow. That's disheartening.
Oh.
That's terrible. So, as we wrap, if you have anything else to share, if you have a message for our people, if you have a message for our viewers, please share it.
Okay. I am a good candidate, and I would love to represent you because that I am very pro-small business. I am pro-local economy. I am pro bringing manufacturing back from China. Macomb County is a natural fit for it. We can create high-quality, good-paying jobs right here. We have in Macomb, again, a local aerospace and defense industry that's pretty big. It's a hidden gem. A lot of people don't know about it. But we need a lot of support from the federal government. Our entire area can flourish, including the Oakland County side. I ask you to vote Gabi. When you go into the ballot, I used to do a lot of research, and I look at the names, and I can't remember. They all look like I've seen them for the first time. Vote Gabi. You look down the ballot.
Gabi, you'll remember, Gabi. Guys.
Yeah, you see Gabi, and you vote Gabi. That's
vote Gabi.
That's the slogan, from the working class, for the working class. And I will look out for your interests.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come out. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts and views. And everyone get out there and vote, and make sure you vote for Gabi. And let's bring a little stability back to the 9th.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.